Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to Indie Comics Review. This is the show where every week I review 3 indie comic books. If that's the kind of content you find interesting, be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button. And if you'd like to support the channel, there's a link below to my Alternative City shop where I sell comics, t-shirts, buttons, stickers, and all kinds of cool stuff that I make. So let's get started right away with the first book of the night, which is Bloodstained Teeth #1. It is written by Christian Ward and with art by Patrick Reynolds. And they are both the co-creators of this book. And it is on the Image Comics label. Atticus Sloan, misanthrope, criminal, asshole, and vampire. I guess not necessarily in that order. Lives in a world where blood isn't the only thing vamps crave. And for the right price, he'll make you a vampire too. After all, immortality isn't cheap. Christian Ward, the Eisner Award-winning co-creator of ODYC, Invisible Kingdom, and Machine Gun Wizards, returns to Image with red-hot artist Patrick Reynolds, The Mask, for an all-new ongoing series, a fast-paced 100-bullet-style crime saga with fangs. So in this vampire reality, there's 2 different kinds of vampire. There are the full-blooded, the firstborn, and then there are what they call the Sips. These are the people that have been turned by the full-blooded vampires. The thing is, most of the old school vampires don't like the Sips, and they don't like the fact that there are people going around making Sips because they look at this as a problem. It calls too much attention to their secret underground world. Now Atticus is this guy who's, like you said, immortality ain't cheap. So to pay for his exorbitant lifestyle, Atticus turns human beings for a price. He gives them this gift of immortality, and what they do with it is not his concern. But he's been called on the carpet by the vampire elites, if you will, and they want to give him, they want to make him an offer he can't refuse. They're going to make him destroy all the Sips that he's created. Otherwise, they're going to come after him. So he's got a problem. And then there's this ER doctor who runs across one of Atticus's Sips and is got some shit going on in her life that we're not privy to. But you know, she's got some probably a sick relative, or maybe she's got dreams of immortality herself. And I think it's going to come back in the story at some point where she is going to seek out Atticus's help for immortality. One of the reasons I love vampire stories, and this seemed like a good one, is that there's so many possibilities to examine human beings and human behavior as seen through the eyes of an immortal creature like a vampire. That's what to me separates them from like zombie and other common monster types of movies. But the vampires is a whole different story. And I love this classism thing that they have going on in Bloodstained Teeth. I can see this actually being, I think it's going to be an ongoing series. It's not there's no finite end to it. So it's going to be an ongoing series. And the way it's written, I can see this being definitely some kind of a film project. Maybe a cable series. Probably work better as that than as a standalone movie, because there's so many possibilities that can just go on and on and on with this kind of a storyline, with this vampire hierarchy that Christian Ward and Patrick Reynolds have built. I know this was highly anticipated and probably heavily ordered, but I still think that this delivers on the promise. And this is not just a typical vampire series right here. This is a good story, well written, great artwork, and lots of possibilities. So man, 2 thumbs way up for this one. Yeah, Bloodstained Teeth #1. That's definitely worth a look. Next book is Kaiju Score, Steal from the Gods #1. It is written by James Patrick and with art by Rem Brew, and it is on the Aftershock label. Michelle is back. She has her own crew, and she's making her own rules. Unfortunately, her tendency for getting into hot water still remains, and her involvement in that now infamous job in Florida, known as a Kaiju Score, is haunting her in many different ways. It's about to put her on a collision course with a new job, new characters, and of course, new monsters. The second volume of the critically acclaimed, best-selling Kaiju Score, optioned by Sony Pictures, is here. And just like last time, not everyone will get out alive. You know, when I first heard Kaiju Score is making another series, I thought like, yeah, well, it couldn't be as good as the first one. I'm probably just going to pass on it. As soon as I read this first issue, I realized how much I liked the first series. And this picks up right where it left off. Michelle returns, like they say. This time she's got a new crew. She's out on her own. She's pulling jobs here and there, but to some of the gangsters, it seems like it's kind of like she's doing the equivalent of robbing Taco Bells and McDonald's. She's living okay. She's doing all right, but things that just aren't good enough for her. And eventually she's visited by this old rich dude who wants her to pull a job because he knows that she was behind, or at least she was a big part of the Miami Kaiju Score. So her reputation has preceded her as far as that goes. And he kind of feels that she's desperate enough just to do it. So this old dude wants her to rescue or acquire this vast amount of gold that's just not just buried in this place near Russia, but it's actually buried inside of which is the mother of all kaijus. And she's got to get inside this thing and get the gold and get out alive and bring it to this guy. He's prepared to pay her a lot of money, but this is going to be way more dangerous than even the Miami job, which was, as she put it, just falling into a puddle of shit. And in addition to having to decide whether or not take this old guy up on his proposition, she's having this identity crisis where she's wondering if she's really a good person or not. And she's going back and forth. She's thinking about things that happened to her in her past and this journal that she keeps. And she's got all kinds of stuff going on in her head as well as some untrustworthy cohorts in her gang that she's got to weed out. Man, the writing of James Patrick is just so dead on. He's so good at writing this dialogue. It's such a snappy, fast-moving plot. The book moves. It's such a page turner. And Rembrew's art, Rembrew, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, but Rembrew's art is just so fantastic. This is a guy, I think he has a background in architecture, and it really shows because he has got perspective just nailed. He's got such a unique style, and he's got this kind of stylized version of his art that just is so uniquely his. But you can tell that his basis and his background is just so solid. And this guy's art is wow. I don't know. He's doing a few other books, but I really miss that artwork. I miss Patrick's writing. I'm glad these guys are back together again and making this book. And like they say, it's been optioned, like so many things have for Sony Pictures. This will make a great caper movie or a caper series. Yeah, man, the Kaiju Score is back, and it is bad, and it is worth reading again. So check out this series. You don't really even need to have read the first series, but I recommend eventually reading that first series because it's a great pickup. I would spec a little bit on that book too, because it's such a great, well-written, well-kept secret. Kaiju Score, Steal from the Gods #1. Bam, it is back and it is awesome. The next book is Astro City. That was then, this is now a one-shot. And it is written by Kurt Busiek and with art by Brent Anderson. They are both the co-creators of Astro City as well. And this book is on the Image Comics label. Astro City returns with an all-new special. Who are the Jayhawks? How did they inspire 5 teen sidekicks looking for answers to hit the road in a rickety crime mobile in 1969? And how will this affect Astro City in the present? This one-shot special features new and existing heroes and launches a mystery that will drive the forthcoming Astro City series. And don't miss the Astro City Metro book, collecting the first 3 years of the acclaimed series. The fans of Astro City were really excited about this book. I've only got maybe a tiny bit of reference for Astro City. I think I read the first trade a long time ago, but I was able to jump right into this and enjoy the story with no problem. It's basically like it says in the description. It takes place in the summer of '69, and there's these teen heroes. They're basically, I guess, the equivalent of like the Teen Titans. They're all sidekicks, and they're all maybe about to all turn 18. One of them is a robot, so he's just hanging out because, you know, he's a robot and he's got nowhere else to go. But all the rest of them are human kids, and they're going to be turning 18 pretty soon. And they're going on this weenie roast, marshmallow roast, in this what they call a war wagon or a war mobile, which looks a lot like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And they decide to fly off to the top of this mesa to have their little camp out. And they go through a lot of soul searching. Some of them want to change their names and become like, one guy's like Bugle Boy. He wants to be like, you know, Bugle Man or something. He wants to change his name and evolve into something else. His partner, which I think is his girlfriend, she doesn't really want to be a superhero anymore. She's kind of tired of it. And they're all going through all these different changes. And meanwhile, the main superheroes, their partners, are kind of keeping an eye on them. They think that they're on their own, they're doing this, but some of the superheroes show up and keep an eye on them, let them know that they're watching them, chaperoning them, if you will, as it was the 1960s. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on with these kids as far as coming of age. This cool thing about the Astro City series is that it kind of reimagines the DC universe, because it's got a real DC-ish kind of a feel to it, but kind of the feel you would have, or kind of the way DC would be if it didn't have any obligation to licensing and all that stuff. It didn't have to like be so straight-laced and owned by Warner Brothers or whoever the hell owns them now. So the whole Astro City thing for people who love the DC universe, or who like to see a DC universe that was maybe a little bit more, I don't know, to be able to take more chances, this would be a good book for you to check out if you have not checked out Astro City before. The fans of the series already know what I'm talking about, so this is, you know, for those people, you know, who are just kind of on the fringe and never heard of it. So this is a really good book. Kurt Busiek writes it well. The art from Brent Anderson is great, and it's a story that I really kind of want to see what comes next. And they talk about this group called the Jayhawks. There was another teen group that met an unfortunate end, and these kids are kind of like still in shock about that happening too. So there's a lot that's going on in this series, and there are some legacy characters that show up as well. So I'm glad I picked this book up, even though I'm not a big fan of the series. It's just a very interesting book, and I enjoyed it a lot. So Astro City fans, I think you, unless I'm missing something, you'll probably enjoy it. And people just want to dip their toe in the Astro City water might get a bit of enjoyment from this book as well. So yeah, Astro City, that was then, this is now, number one shot. Yeah, definitely worth a look, folks. Tonight's Artist Alley is called Corp Mascot, and it is written by and also drawn by Craig Holland. There are also additional covers by Max Gagnon and Jesse Lundberg. Corp Mascot is a story about the relationship between a video game player and a character in a video game. The character is named Corp Mascot, obviously, that's the name of the book, and it kind of evolves and becomes kind of a coming of age story. Now it begins when the main character is kind of the character from the video game, Corp Mascot, but it's really about the relationship between him and the player one, which I guess is the term the gamers use. The player one's relationship between himself and the character and how he plays the game. In addition to being a coming of age story for both, I guess, the player one and for the video game character, it's kind of a history of the video game genre as it tells the story. First, it begins when everything's cool. The player one gets his game console and gets this highly treasured game, plays it all the time. He's terrible at it. Of course, he gets better and better at it. And then there's upgrades, oh my great, everything is great, everything's fine. And eventually there's another console comes available. And this time, the cartridge doesn't fit in that console. This is like a 64-bit console now. So and then eventually there's a disc console that comes out, and meanwhile, the original character is not being played with as much as he was normally being played with in the beginning, and it's starting to affect his mental health. I mean, the poor character is just kind of becoming forlorn. Now, Corp Mascot, they call him CMS for short. Corp Mascot narrates the whole story, and we see the evolution through his eyes. We see the player eventually grow older and go to other relationships, go off to college. Eventually he meets a girl. And they become married, and he has a child. So all this is a background to the evolution of the video game genre itself. And there's like a warm-hearted kind of a feel to this book, even though I am not a video game person at all, not unless you count Madden and stuff like that. So I know nothing about the genre, but I was able to enjoy this story. And I'm sure there's some other people out there who know much more about the genre that would enjoy it more than me. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to leave a link down there to the creator's website, and you can check out this story for yourself. It's just a cool story that, it's got a good center, and I think something that people will enjoy in a cynical world full of horrible stories and bad things. This is a nice, warm-hearted story. So thanks for sending that in. I appreciate it. So that's all for this Indie Comics review. Be sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button, and turn notifications on so you know when I'm making my next video. So until next week, see you guys in the funny papers. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and leave a thumbs up.